everyone, Lou here. Well, the spooky month is unfortunately over and has been for a while. I actually wanted to review Death Stranding for Halloween, but some stuff came up in regards to explaining this mad whack story, so this video had to be delayed, but think of it as a kind of extra treat in the trick-or-treating that is Halloween, except it's in November. I guess this is the nightmare before Christmas? I'm trying to have any excuse I can to explain why this video was delayed, so... Well, today I'll be reviewing Death Stranding. Roll the intro and let's get started. Death Stranding is a video game directed by Hideo Kojima, a legendary video game director who's primarily known for the Metal Gear Solid games. Now, in a mess that several gaming channels have covered already, Kojima was fired by Konami as they completely quit video game development to work on mobile and pachinko games, which still makes me salty to this day. Prior to Death Stranding, Hideo Kojima was going to remake the Silent Hill franchise with a playable teaser called PT that is sadly no longer available. It was an incredible start to finally give Silent Hill some spotlight again, but because he was fired, the game was cancelled. I bring this up because I do genuinely believe that ideas Kojima had for PT had rippled into Death Stranding. Don't quote me on this, but I believe he did slightly confirm that some vague ideas he had for this cancelled Silent Hill game were put into Death Stranding, but he couldn't quite confirm or deny due to legal mumbo-jumbo regarding the cancelled game. Again, don't quote me on that because I can't seem to find the quote and I don't remember where I heard it, so just take it as a rumor for now. Death Stranding faced some developmental delays, which did concern many due to the stigma created by delayed games. Which is weird to me because Final Fantasy VII Remake, Team Fortress 2, and several other critically acclaimed games took a long time to be made, and they were awesome, so I guess it's just the bad eggs that were delayed that caused people to think that. Who knows? The game would finally release on November 8th, 2019, just 9 days before my birthday. Though critics were split, some critics thought the game was a garbled mess that was just a walking simulator, while others praised the story for its deeply written lore and innovations it made for future games. Now that we explained development and backstory for the game's lifespan, let's start with the story. I kid you not that this story is harder to understand than Kingdom Hearts. I mean, I do understand it, but explaining it is like explaining the damn fourth dimension. I will also be covering major spoilers, by the way, so keep that in mind. I guess skip to about here in the video if you want to avoid any mentions of spoilers and even my talks on the story itself. The world of the dead is an actual place in this universe that pops up now and then across millions of years, but this time death wants to merge with the world of the living due to several simultaneous explosions around the world. This event was called the Death Stranding, and it caused the world of the dead to merge with our own, where the souls of the dead called beached things appear to try and drag the living to their side. Beached things are called BTs, and we do find out that the cause of the Death Stranding is through a single entity once every millions of years or thousands of years to essentially alter the world. This includes the extinction of dinosaurs, the end of the Ice Age, and so on and so forth. In an unspecified amount of time in the future, we meet Sam Porter Bridges, who's a courier in charge of delivering supplies to different settlements across the United States. Due to the BTs, people can't live above ground anymore, so everyone has to live in bunker-like settlements. Think something similar to the vaults from the Fallout games, except these are legit places to live in instead of twisted experiments. There's also BBs, or bridge babies, that are premature babies that come from brain-dead mothers that can see the BTs because they bridge between the realm of the living and dead. I guess it's like Schrodinger's baby? They don't last a really long time, but they're super helpful. A funky fetus, if you will. Sam and his sister, Amelie, were very close when they were younger, but he seemed to be an overall good guy who loved what he did. Amelie is also part of a type of human that is linked with the BTs and their world. world. In this game, everyone has a beach or pocket dimension of the world of the dead. Those like Amelie can visit someone's beach and can even project herself in other places, though this means that her aging is slowed down as time stops for a human body on a beach. It's unknown how old she is supposed to be, but I'm assuming pretty old since Sam has memories of them together on his beach when he's a child and she's a grown woman, so... This ability to enter the world of the dead and form a strong connection to it is called Dooms, and Sam actually has it too, but a very weak version of it. Sam can see BTs if he stands perfectly still and suffers from burns if a BT tries to touch him, which developed into a fear of touch for Sam. He'd eventually have a wife who got pregnant, but due to carrying a child with Dooms due to Sam's bloodline, she had suffered from nightmares so badly that she took her own life. Sam quit his job and worked more like a mercenary courier in this world rather than working for a company he built from the ground up. He's basically just Daryl from The Walking Dead in a fanfic AU where Hannibal is his dad and Guillermo del Toro is his lore exposition friend-ish. I should mention, by the way, that when humans die in this world, it's Walking Dead rules where you have to dispose of the body so it won't come back. When humans die in Death Stranding, they turn into BTs because of the invasion, which causes huge explosions that can wipe out entire cities. These are called voidouts, and everyone tries to avoid them at all costs. Bodies have to be cremated immediately because of this, so crematories are very important in this world. And I should also mention that rain and snow isn't normal anymore. Rain is called timefall now, and it causes things to accelerate in growth, so it's extremely important to wear thick protective gear so timefall doesn't get on you, so you don't age up super fast and die of old age within minutes. To sum it up, to really get what this game is about, the alien-like world of the dead merged with our own, so life is now the dead trying to claim the lives of the living as much as possible to drag them back to their world. The story for this game is that Sam is called back by his dying mother and his sister to, quote, rebuild America, because the states and counties in the United States have cut off all communication and connection with each other instead of working together, because in order for any apocalyptic situation to turn out okay, there needs to be a group effort and communication. I will say that the amount of patriotism towards this mission in the game kinda surprises me. Like, it kinda borderlines on parody, if I'm being honest, but then again, I've seen my fair share of 4th of July stuff in the holiday sections of stores, so you know what? That's pretty accurate in my eyes. Sam, being our reluctant hero, agrees to help rebuild America by literally going across every single state settlement until he makes it to California, where he can connect every single settlement to one network to use a technology that basically works like a magical 3D printer thingy-mabob, so people can get supplies easier and less delivery men or porters will die trying to give packages. While Sam does this, he's joined by characters such as Mama, Hartman, Die Hard Man, and Fragile. Yes, by the way, these names are absolutely fucking ridiculous and someone needs to give Kojima a baby name book. Though there isn't just BTs to avoid, there's also terrorists that want the BTs to take over the world, or something like that. Bandits who are obsessed with hoarding supplies for no other reason than the addiction of opening packages or something, which is a huge mood to be honest. And a beach Sam keeps visiting that's a World War II reenactment. Again, for some reason. That's all I can really explain without this video being an hour long, so that's just the mega gist of the story. Not that this video is spoiler free, obviously, just that it is incredibly complicated to go further into the details of this story. I mean, to be honest, this story is basically all of Hideo Kojima's kinks in writing, and take that information as you will. Whether that's honestly good or bad is up to you. Though I will say that I loved a lot of the symbolic nature in the writing. For instance, the fact that Mama and Lockney are basically an old concept in many cultures, that twins are just one person split in two. I really like that, and I think that's super cool to explore in a story like this. The thing that makes this story such a mess for everyone to follow is the fact that everything is an information overload, and there is not a specific timeline for places and events. Even in the emails you can read, which are optional material discussing more world building, like how relationships and babies are born in this new world, there isn't a specified time in which everything happened, which is honestly kind of frustrating. The fact that everyone ages slowly if they have dooms is in a constant state of life and death, and several other convenient ways to stop time, it makes it extremely difficult to figure out when something happened, where it happened, that sort of thing. There's also a slight issue in what I call Final Fantasy 13 syndrome, where they explain everything to you like you know the story already or something, but I would argue it's nowhere near as bad as Final Fantasy 13. You do pick up the pieces and everything does fall into place where your mind does connect the dots relatively easy, especially with the information overload and, you know, several helpings of lore dumping. But I know that it is a negative for some people. I'm not saying Sam should have been a fish out of water protagonist. Rather, I would have liked at least an optional comic book or light novel, just explaining everything a little better. Maybe some lore dumping in a concept art book, that would be really awesome. Overall, I really do like the story, and I think there are some really interesting messages that come up throughout this game that I think fit the world we're in now more than ever, connecting the world and establishing proper leadership and communication in order to combat a deadly thing that's all over the world, and the last bastion is people who deliver stuff to those who are stuck in their shelters. If that's not relatable to the world we're in right now, then I don't know what is. The world written here is also very interesting. It's extremely elaborate and has a very open opportunity to make things like movies, books, comics, and even a sequel based around this world and these characters. While the story is an absolute fucking headache to comprehend, and you may need to write down notes, it is genuinely a good story and I do like it. Though I won't be going over the characters because frankly there are way too many in this game, but I will say that Sam is great. He's played by Norman Reedus, so I mean, what do you expect? Hartman, Fragile, and Mama are also some of my other favorite characters. You know me, I love tragic characters that can rise above the hardships they've gone through. Though as I said earlier, I can notice themes he wanted in Silent Hills put into Death Stranding. Themes of connection, cycles, and whatever theme you get by having Norman Reedus as the main character. Also, you know, the color being gray is a prominent theme here. Are colors a theme? Well, they are now. This is the part where I think leaves the most people divided, because a really great game can have a really hard to follow story. Just look at Kingdom Hearts or Nier Automata, but a game with mixed gameplay and a confusing story can kill it for a lot of people. I'm going to be honest that this gameplay is not for everyone. It's very unique, but I genuinely appreciate that it's trying to be unique. If I could describe the gameplay, it would be a mix of some kind of trucking simulator and Breath of the Wild. That's a really fucking weird combination, but this is a game with a monster sponsorship, so anything being normal is thrown out the window. The controls are pretty basic, but you are supposed to go around with all kinds of tools like ladders, hiking shoes, ropes, structure projection, and a handful of other materials. This is the part I really like because I'm someone who actually likes preparing for things meticulously, so it feels satisfying when you've got everything going. Another thing I really like is the multiplayer without talking to anyone. Death Stranding's multiplayer does not need a PlayStation Plus account, as it's really weird. Basically, whatever a player leaves behind in the world is something that another player will find on the server. So if you leave a ladder, it will stay there and another player in that game's server will find it. I think that's really great. It's like playing a multiplayer game without ever meeting anyone. If I'm being honest, that's a genius gameplay idea for anyone who's a massive introvert. It's connecting people without actually having any of them physically interact. I think that's the best way this kind of gameplay shines is in the highway you build. Players can donate materials to build a highway to make traveling safer and easier for themselves and other players. It's also one of the most satisfying things to build in this game. Yet it can be a bit repetitive, and I can see where that bothers people. Personally, I have to be in a mood to play Death Stranding. Obviously, if I'm in a mood for high action and platforming, I'm not going to play a slow and calculated game. Honestly, the gameplay does indeed remind me a lot of Silent Hill, actually, especially in dodging the BTs. Though you do get better equipment to finally defeat the BTs once you discover Sam's blood, thanks to his Doom's abilities, is actually deadly to BTs and can be used to actually kill them. A BT area in this game is a lot like a game of hot and cold, because the funky fetus, or BB, can alert you when one is nearby, and there's a little glowing fan that will flash and go crazy the second he's close to one. Though if Sam stays still because of his Doom's ability due to his past, he can actually see the BTs, so the idea is to move a little at a time to avoid being in their way in order to deliver packages safely and efficiently. The bandits are technically easier, though killing one can cause a void out, I think. I did experience one, but it's very strange. You don't die in the normal sense, ever. Instead, Sam's Doom's abilities sends him to the world of the dead, where you can swim down to find the body you were in, and then you wake up and possibly lose progress or time if you did not save beforehand. The area next time might be a temporary BT zone as well, so just be mindful of that if you have to kill, especially when crematories and incinerators are very far away in this game. Overall, the gameplay is a bit repetitive and slow, but I like it. It genuinely reminds me of Silent Hill in that way. You're just one person traversing through a scary-ass world, all the while trying not to die. Which I've never actually died, by the way, I think. So I have no idea how dying actually works. I did get a technical game over because I didn't dispose of a body, but I've never actually died despite all the falls I take. While many will find the game boring, overly complicated, strange dialogue choices, too many famous people that it feels like a TV show advertisement, and many other things, I personally really liked this game. I'm not someone who follows a hype train in a crazy way unless it's for a Square Enix title, but I think Death Stranding does live up to what it was promising. This is definitely a game I'd love to see more stories or take place in this world, and I feel like a lot can be done with this kind of gameplay when it's introduced. Honestly, I hope this no-contact multiplayer thing will be implemented in other games someday, because I do genuinely love the idea. It's a happy medium for companies who want to push multiplayer and introverted people who want to play alone once in a while. The story is also pretty great, as confusing as it is. Finding out a lore bit feels like solving a corner of a really big puzzle, and I like the symbolism. The themes of connection, communication, and several other things are really great. At the beginning of these current world events, I saw quite a lot of people making memes about how they realize now that Death Stranding's story is actually semi-realistic, considering how often people rely on delivery men and women nowadays. Though this game is, again, not for everyone, and not for someone who's asking for something super high octane with a bunch of military people yelling at you for whatever the fuck happens in those gritty World War II shooter games. I hope you guys do enjoy the video though. I thought Death Stranding would be a fun video to talk about, especially when I did hype it up in my E3 video from that year. Even if it's not scary for some people, I think it definitely has eldritch horror elements, and I know a lot of you guys love that from suggestions and questions I get in the comments. Well, let me know what you guys think about the video. Do you want to play Death Stranding now? Does it still look like Norman Reedus and the Funky Fetus Simulator? Let me know down below. Hey guys, thanks for watching! If you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're new. And if any older new subs would like to help support the channel in any possible way, my Ko-fi page is down below in the description along with all of my social media. For any subscribers, new or old, who would like to help with video ideas or maybe just want to talk about anime or something, then I have a fan server linked down below. See you next time!